few ideas on how to do it.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen. I think tonight should be it. I don't have work tomorrow. I have things I have to do outside of work, but I don't have work tomorrow. So I think I'm just gonna sit down. It's 11/11 on October 7th, going into the 8th. Oh man, this run, we real. I think the biggest. So I did some grinding off the stream again. We now have an auto workshop just for shits and giggles. I didn't really know what to put in there. The big thing is we got this flipped and we got building materials and stuff. So I think we're officially just totally set up for the end of the game. This is a. This has been a crazy run. It's been bumpy as hell. I'm gonna be bringing the death counter back for the next run, the Afflicted Warlord. I started watching Get Good Fox. Is probably one of my top 2 favorite State of Decay content creators, and started watching his Trumbull run a little bit. I didn't want to watch too much because I don't want to spoil it for us, but pretty freaking cool, very, very nostalgic. Oh yeah, I got us some more 50 cals. And I'll be completely honest with you, I cheated those in there. Does it take away from the run? No, I don't think so. It's just something to give these guys to finish it off. I don't think it changes much. But I just think that I just want to guarantee the win at this point. When you're working this many hours a week, this was a run. That was the run. That was, hey, we didn't use the pyro launcher. That's basically what it was. Pyro launcher and red talon people. Because I've been relying on those. And I'm going to use boons for the Afflicted Warlord. I'm going to bring back the death counter. And what? And here's our... How's it hanging? How's it hanging? It just lays there. How's it hanging? Everyone gets a 50 cal. You get a 50 cal, and you get a 50 cal, and everybody gets a 50 cal. How much is it to even make the kits? See, this is just so shitty, though, honestly. You can boost the durability and reduce noise. I mean, I guess that helps in Lethal Zone a little bit, but is this cheaper? 3 of them for 140. Okay, so it's buy 2 get 1 free. That is a little cheaper. I'll give it that. That helps. We got the parts naturally, though. Does it show you what class of vehicle the Reims or any of these are? No, it doesn't. Okay, so you just have to guess. There's probably a way to know. If there isn't, stay to Endo Labs if you're out there on this, what has become such a cheaty run. The Viking, hey, oh hell yeah. That's why. I have yet to upgrade a vehicle in Lethal Zone. And I want to do it at least once. I know there's a van out there too. Oh, get new shit in the back. There we go. Alright, I'll take it.
And I'm out.
Let's go ahead and take this med kit. Alright, establish the legacy. So now it's just about waiting for missions to despawn, and so I'll go do this. And I'd love to go get that van if I could remember where it was. I guess it might be on the map somewhere. And just finish strong with the van, because we can. Got our bounties done. So I didn't want to talk. So we got a little bit of grinding done off the stream, and I cheesed some 50 cals in there. That's what happened. I cheesed some 50 cals in there because it was a long night. In fact, I had to... This has also been my complaint in fish run. But we have to put in a culvert. And it's been raining. In Ohio, in the fall, we get quite a bit of rain. It's been raining, so it fell to me to go into the stream and put the culvert in the cold, in the wet, in the mud. And you know what I said after that day? I said, I'm gonna give myself some 50 cals. It's Gare Bear. It's freaking Gare Bear. I gotta say, that's kind of cool that he was there, though. Like, he was hiding here this whole time. It's Roger. He's coming up to get us.
Damn, too loud.
And I didn't feel too bad about cheesing the 50 cows because, to be honest, we could have gotten them. We could have spent the time, like, everything except for giving Squirrel and the now dead Bear some extra traits is doable. And with Squirrel, the logic was that is also technically within the realm of possibility. Highly unlikely. It would take hour after hour after hour. It's like a State of Decay lore thing that apparently the military retreated, or so they say. But to get those perks, of course, she has more than what you would normally get. So she's not natural, and we justified that by the crazy amount of glitches we got. That's the white noise machine right there. This is like the inside of a base. I've been wanting to loot these for a long time.
We're done here.
I have been in the background, though. I see it was also going to be, oh, we're not going to work. We're not going to work. This ties into what I've been doing in the background. It's like, oh, okay, so I have a little extra time, and I'm trying to get it to where I have I really feel like I can get a stream schedule. So, like, today I was actually, we had to redo stream keys, because as I'm recording this, there's a huge breach on Twitch, and some data got launched, and everybody's keys got reset, so I had to go and relink all my stuff up. Well, what happened with that is, I thought we're gonna get a day off because that's the way my boss was talking. So rainy and the weather was so bad that we're gonna get a day off. Now I already told you I had to go in the culvert. Well, I was getting all set up, and for the last few days he's been telling me that same thing, that we're gonna get a day off. So I've just been like, all right, I'll start working on some content. I started working on a guide for State of Decay Lethal Zone. So I'm refreshing my memory and getting back in the flow of things here while we try to wrap up what will be, as a side announcement, I think the content flow is the Afflicted Warlord, this run, the Afflicted Warlord, Trumbull County. I might just do because I want to do it. I wanted to do it live, but I also am just so tempted to do it because there's so many memories there. And I think I'm gonna do a lone wolf run, and I think that's pretty darn good at that point. There's some new content that's really compelling. I'll come back. But I think I'm gonna start moving towards the capstone and the day 99 run. And the day 99 run would be like the finale. I've got almost all the achievements. I have to go and do, oh, there we go, there's a legacy mission. The plague wall thing. I have to do a couple more of the really grindy Heartland things, and maybe I can get to that.
We all know that.
Probably not tomorrow, but busy work achievements just don't really fit in my schedule right now.
If we're going to survive, we need
So anyway, I was saying something. So I keep going to go do some like content that I want to do, like a guide, and that was allowing me to deep dive into some more of the mechanics and getting back into play, and I really didn't feel like I was playing that good. So I'm like sitting there working in depth on a guide, ready to punch out some content, and then lo and behold, 2 days in a row, a day off turned into, we're gonna do this and that. And we're only gonna do this and that, but it's gonna be in the rain and some other stuff, but it's okay, because it's progress, and I think it was the right thing to show up, but it does feel good to bitch about it a little bit. And now I'm on so many ibuprofens, my freaking kidneys are... Should the survivor community upgrade convert facility? Oh, well. I feel dumb that I did all of that away from this. To be honest, we could get rid of this. Oh, minus 30 fuel efficiency is not terrible in Lethal Zone. And you get +3 morale. But I'll tell you what, if you really want to make this worth it, for 5 materials for the next 2 days, you should have passive repair of your vehicle. So here we go. I'll just upgrade on the sheltered beds.
Be done before too long.
We don't need it, but that's what we'll do. 25 material. Oh, damn. Every time you feel like you get a little bit going, the game just kicks you right in the nuts. Okay. So I'm going to count this definitely as done, though. Afflicted Warlord. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. I've been thinking about that, because it's tricky. It's very tricky, actually. I can set up the first 3 survivors, and I guess I'll just flip right here live. Not live, I wish I was live. But just rotate through them and we'll get some crappy ones. But if it's like taking a little while, I won't do it because that might take a while. Because I'm at least going to get mechanics and stuff.
We can't enjoy
Mechanics, gardening, and probably medicine or driving. No, medicine is not as important. Really, pathology is the thing that's important. Computers is arguably more important. You definitely want mechanics. To me, you definitely want gardening. But I'm pretty sure medicine doesn't get good until pathology, and there's not... Or do you need a knowledge of medicine to get to infirmary, too? I don't think you do. Maybe you do these days, but... I don't think you do. There is some cool things you can do with an infirmary and a field hospital, though, that I really wasn't onto. But if you want to be like Squirrel, it's doable so long as you... Oh my god, there were 2 building rucksacks right there in front of our face this whole time. You could do, by using both the facility up bonuses.
I'm declaring this location Z-free.
Also figured out some cool stuff with the, God, that means I could put yet another safe zone in here. I'm not gonna do it, because whatever. We're at the end. We now got people decked out with 50 cals, the whole thing. Like, we're totally, I think we're ready. So the Afflicted Warlord is people with crappy skills. Well, what about recruitment? That's the challenge there, is what are we gonna do when I recruit somebody and they're normal? Can we just play them at that point, or doesn't that kind of defeat the purpose a little bit? Oh, that was a clown. I didn't see those. That sucks. We're just zombies slaying the Prepper's 22 caliber is a thing of beauty. So I thought we could recruit them but not play with them. That's what I'm currently thinking is going to be the strategy. They can sit at base perfectly well. Basically, if all 3 of those initial survivors go down, that's not good. I think they just sat in the plague and got changed. Somebody definitely changed it. It was probably one of those situations where we had to cure the person real quick. I've got some cheesy stuff for a guide that's going to be coming out. As soon as I get just like a little bit more time here to...
I've lost count of how many times I've thrown up.
Wait, she still wants the plague cure?
Okay, great.
You better put me out of my misery before I turn and give this shit to somebody else.
Jeff? Who's that? Oh, R12. Well, who
No
the
place to
hell
put that.
are you gonna...
No place to put that.
Oh, there's all kinds of freaks on the other side of this thing. Who are you gonna cure at this point? Oh, I'll truck over there. I know it's like 50 steps, but this is America. 50 steps too many. Need to start writing the Pokemon Go capstone too, because I'm just done with it at this point. I didn't want to be, but dude, I can't both keep up with that game and any other game. It's nuts. That's just where the time crunch with me right now is pretty severe, and I'm gonna have to start cutting stuff. I want to hit one more level, which is level 40, and then I feel like I've done a decent job. You know, I've vidi-vidi-vici to a degree. I thought about 50 as a second video. I just don't know that I can maintain playing the game that long, because it takes at least an hour out of my day. And I don't ever like just sit down and give it an hour unless I go on a long walk, but I usually don't have the energy to do that anymore. I just, between logging in the morning, sending some gifts, receiving some gifts, catching a Pokemon, yeah, that's 20 minutes right there that I wouldn't mind having back to do other stuff.
God damn it.
Oh, it was like a BB gun. There was a gun like this in State of Decay 1, and there was actually a lot of guns like this. They understood what the idea of the guns were. Here's how you pop some
I owe
zombie
you
heads. But she's not even gonna join us, which is probably because we're at the soft cap and because we're near the end here.
Check that box on the to-do list.
2 white noise machines. Let the morale flow forth. And that ibuprofen is about to bust one of my kidneys open. So yeah, I just feel like I need to be done. Then when I go to work, I have a gotcha, and that spins some stops for me, so I don't have to worry about that. But just getting in gyms and battling, that 5 to 10 minute exercise is just too much. So just too much. Done it all summer. Was able to keep up with it. Thought it would be a fun thing. Tried to get back into the old Pokemon games, couldn't. Did some really cool stuff though with getting modded versions of Pokemon, fan-made ROMs on the Wii U, which I still think we could do as a supplement, a cool project for the stream. Supplement to the Pokemon Go capstone. That stuff's there. There's a bunch of like in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective. That's right, highly effective people. Timothy Covey calls it the P over PC balance. Your production over your production capability. Well, my production has been meager, as anyone can attest, but production capability has actually managed to continue to make some strides. Like, I have a second PC here.
Boring.
I still haven't been able to hook it up into the whole thing because of, you know, the audio, the place for it, yada, yada, yada. But it's there. We built that. We accomplished that a while back, actually. The Xbox Series X, we're running on that right now, and that doesn't have a SPDIF, audio optical cable. I don't know what SPDIF even stands for, and why I remember that acronym is beyond me, but I don't.
Yeah.
But production capability, the Wii U, man. I bought 2 Kinects. Holy shit. Wish I wouldn't have, but I did. That's one I just want to cancel because that Kinect is ass. But I just can't bring myself to do it yet because I'm like, let's invest. That was like $200 right there. Buy stimulus check. Wii U though, don't regret that purchase at all. Wii U rocks, man. Why is there no fuel gauge? Is this a consistent bug with this car? Because of this truck, I feel like this has happened before. See, there should be tons of armored Zeds around places like this. That would make sense. But I'll tell you what, once you get rid of these play cards in the lethal zone, it's a whole different game at that point. I'm gonna save the bounty broker for the afflicted warlord. And I've lost my train of thought,
Well,
so
I could have been louder.
that's that. I finally figured out the whole firecrackers and road flare thing. It's not that you get consistent fire damage from them. This took me way too long to figure out. It's like rain. That is not, the percentage is not the probability. That's the percent of your area. Oh wow, that's really nice. Anyway, the flares and firecrackers, they're a consistent igniter. That's why they're good. All kinds of goodies here.
I'm declaring this location.
So you put them
free.
down, and then you throw like shit that will catch, like bloater gas.
No luck in here.
You throw that down, and then that'll set them off. Now I don't know why people are always like Molotovs and a napalm bomb. That's what you
No
need.
room.
I don't need those 7.6 rounds. Anyway, what's here? There's some like UI elements missing. I'm not getting to see how much I need to search. How much is left to search, and I'm not seeing my fuel bar. What's going on here? Something up here? Can there be something up here? I mean, this looks like where Red Talon would set up. That's kind of cool. Too bad our gun's about to break. Yeah, I think the last thing's over there.
All right, we've got our utilities up and
These
running.
missions aren't
Now
taking
let's make 'em
forever
work
to
for us.
spawn. Oh, we needed power and water for the arc anyway. Maybe there was something stuck in the unconscious there. Okay, what's something that requires power? I mean, probably one of these, right? 200 parts, 10 material. Oh, I didn't even notice how much material these cost to make. Can I make something cheaper? Okay, what all is it? Use craft an item that requires power or water. Okay. God, you would think at this point, having done this mission so many freaking times, that there was, I know that there was always something simple that was like, requires power, and you could just be done with it right now. Oh, there we go, power, pipe bomb. Yeah, this requires, there.
Check that box on the to-do list.
Gladly take that. Something pretty big out there. Oh yeah, there he is. Watch him jump in here. Like, I would be so impressed by that if he does that. And that explains how they lost this base, that's for sure. Dude, how many times am I gonna fall off this godforsaken thing? Uh-oh. Watch this loose squirrel here. I keep falling off, getting stuck, and there's finally a blood plague pharaoh. Finally, you know how many we've had to knock out.
This will slow me down.
Alright, so that's all of that, but I wish that there would have been a bar. Hopefully the UI is not broken for Afflicted Warlord, because we're going to need everything. We're going to need everything at our disposal. This is kind of one of the cooler areas across all the State of Decay maps, just for that vantage point that it gives you. I think a 50 cal shot should just kill a blood plague feral outright. There's quite a few over there. Dude, why? I keep just pressing the left trigger. I must be getting some ghost movement on my joystick. It's your dipstick, Sonny. I don't think it's appendicitis, because I'm touching my guts and they're not just exploding with pain. Something funky. Some of those NSAIDs. Get rid of the inflammation, but watch your organs bleed and your shit turn to blood. Also wish I knew how much gas was in this truck. It goes, I know there's some audio cues. Like, that would obviously be a challenge run too, but I don't know if I want to make it quite that hard. I like having information on the screen. So, and I've limped through quite a few of these challenges, to be fair. I've definitely taken a confidence neg, I would say, because of people. I see read people in the comments on videos and like, oh yeah, I didn't lose a single person. It was nothing. It's not been my case. I've lost a ton of people in Lethal. I think Lethal's pretty hard. Granted, there's ways around it, you know, and there's this degree. I want to talk about this in the guide. Like, it's not really about your skill. Some of it is, a little bit, but mostly it's about how well do you know the game. And to be fair, State of Decay 1 was like that. My biggest gripe with Lethal, I've got two really big gripes with Lethal Zone. And that is, there's too many hearts. That's first and foremost, because that's an easy one. It just is really repetitive at the end. It's not fun. There's too much, there's too many, and it becomes a grind, and they're the same thing over and over again, and get prepared for them, yada yada yada. I just think it's too many hearts. I know that they were just going for like extreme difficulty, but every game dev in the world seems to make that same mistake of more is better. Let's just put more in, but more isn't always necessarily better. And in the case of Plague Hearts, I think we're at a tipping point where it's just too many. I wouldn't mind if they, like, say increased in difficulty even, but having 40 Plague Hearts out there is just obnoxious. I'm gonna put fuel in this, even though I can't see the fuel bar, out of an abundance of caution. And I'm gonna switch over to action here to pass the arc delay along. The arc delay being the story. There's a basically a soft gate built in.
I'm ready. It's time to crush our enemies, see them driven before us, and hear the lamentations of the zombies.
Hear the lamentations of their women. Conan the Barbarian. I appreciate that reference. I really do. Oh, we can actually afford to repair a weapon. Not typically the case. So, I mentioned that there's too many hearts. And then the next thing. I don't want to lose my train of thought too bad on this because I feel like this is important. When I played Breakdown, I've talked about the loot, okay? And to be fair, that's fixable. I could go into the difficulty right now, and I could tone down the map difficulty. Okay, it says 28 to 30, but damn, it felt like 40. Oh, we're gonna finally get to use Plague Territory and leveled up outpost too, so that'll be cool. No, it's how I don't like how difficulty is calculated first and foremost, but it would be tricky. I don't have a direct like, if only they did this, it would just work. I see what they're going for. And I thought to myself, well, why don't they just make it so it's really hard at the beginning? Like, you know, there's so many zombies. And one of the big things about State of Decay 1 is people like myself enjoy the idea that once you got to a certain point, you kind of felt like you had taken back the territory to a degree. You know, once you got in trouble and you got to the Snyder trucking stop, you made a bunch of outposts. I think a lot of people had the same experience. It was like you were really actually reclaiming the map. But the whole State of Decay thing, you're running out of resources and you gotta try to build a sustainable base, and they dug even deeper into that with State of Decay 2. So when I would play Breakdown, yeah, you would cheese mechanics. No lie, you would cheese, what's this? I didn't drop those in. Did we get a biochem station? Is that what you get for curing one of them? The blood plague doctors? We finally got a biochem station here at the very end. That sucks. Could have used that 2 hours ago. You do some cheesy stuff like RV riding. Oh my god, yes, there is. We received your report on the effects of field test. This is the last case secure we can afford to allocate to your project for the next month. Recommend shift testing to local subjects to avoid overextending our resources. That's cool. What's that say? Time was the only folks carried a knife like this were samurai warriors. Of course, those blades were steel, and this one sure ain't. Hopefully, whoever made it won't be pissed that it's being carried by a Ronin like me. Sasquatch. He wasn't a complete ass in one, by the way. So, you would do some cheesy stuff, but there was always moments in State of Decay 1, regardless of how many hours I put into it, how much I played it, how much I knew the underlying mechanics, how the game worked and everything. Like, there were still moments all the time where I just felt like I was in a zombie movie. I still would get absorbed into it. And I feel with State of Decay 2, I experienced that less and less all the time. It was there, definitely, I know, when I think back on it in the early days. Even with Standard Zone and how easy it was, and how long it took the game to really develop into what it is today, which is a much, much better game. But there was a lot of moments where I would feel the State of Decay 1 vibes and be super into it, despite everything. With Lethal Zone, the game does so many things to be like the player, using mechanics against you, using your knowledge of the game against you, using animation and behaviors against you, the way that it does the spawns. This stuff adds up to become really frustrating. Now, Lethal Zone is meant to be frustrating, but I play some games like, say, Atomic Crops that are really, really hard. Atomic Crops is a tough twin-stick shooter that can somehow manage to be really tough, but still really addicting. And those are usually the funnest games that, like, you can barely even progress an inch into the content, and yet somehow it's like you just want to keep trying and you want to keep going. You have to have that challenge. Challenge meets skill, and then you're gonna get flow. That's the definition of flow. It's where skill meets challenge in perfect synchronicity. State of Decay I also want immersion personally. That tactical simulation. You're in a zombie. What would you do? How would you survive the zombie apocalypse? Without going too zany or too shoot 'em up. It's a survival game. The way that the game just spawns shit in the middle of a house. I loathe that.
I'm here.
When I'm out in the middle of nowhere and there's 2,000 zombies out of nowhere. I loathe that.
You see that? We won.
Like, if we're in the town like this right now, high-end loot, lots of people didn't get to the cities. This shit broke out, you know. People weren't able to completely gut these buildings. But this is where the shit is at. This is where you need to become equipped. This is where Plague Hearts and Plague Territory can tie a rule. I think they're almost leading towards that. Like,
No more hordes of slabbering undead.
they did that in Heartland, to be fair. You know, when you went to the Plague Wall territory, that's where, like, the best stuff was.
I guess that's everything here.
High risk, high reward. You still have to have that random generation, and I think, you know, an even bigger map. Even more dense urban areas of State of Decay 3. But I think they really need to rethink how they do spawns and how they do difficulty. Because in State of Decay 2, you just realize you're in a game all the time. Now, if there was a reasoning in lore, which they almost seem to be moving away from, with Trumbull County being like, oh, they cleared it out, no more walls, it's all over with, the heart's not evolving anymore. Hopefully, I don't think that should be the direction. I think hearts are actually a good direction. Blood Plague Zombies are a good direction. Because it's like, oh, the hearts make these things at this point. They're sort of like, they're doing the whole annihilation thing, and they're just replicating life. They're making their own life. It started as a zombie plague, evolved into something much more. Clearly, there's some, like, shadowy Umbrella Corporation style shit going on. So, tying those together. Oh, shit. Dude, what the fuck? I was trying to do medical advice. That went so terrible. I'm too used to squirrel. When the game so if what I'm trying to say is if the zombies came out of the hearts, which was hinted to in the lore at one point, it would be cool. I'd be okay with that. And then you just build an animation in, and then it's like, oh, it makes sense. Like, these hearts are literally somehow producing these, like, familiars or automatons in the shape of a human. I'm trying to think there'd be a word for it, like mannequins, but there is actually a word for something like that. But, like replicas, I suppose. So I could, like I said, I would still stay into it at that point. Oh yeah, the heart's producing these crazy replicas, and the whole State of Decay version of the Undead Nightmare this is their version of it. So because that's not there, what you just see is pop in all the time. Pop in or things that don't make sense. Zombies aren't located in population centers. Like, we were just in a military base. It should be armored Zed City, but inside it should be some great shit. And they're so close to that. They're so close to greatness in that regard. And when I mean great shit, I mean, okay, that if you want, instead of it just being completely random, or in this game, mostly it's a trader thing, right? If you want, say, the network relay as a hypothetical, because they're going to have something different for State of Decay 3. If you want the signal booster, you got to do this set of missions, similar to any RPG, but you also have to go at the end of that mission line, which would guide you. You could find it on your own, like a Bethesda game, open world style, into There you go. There's your network signal relay. And that's how you have to get it. You have to either go down this quest line or you have to be willing, similar to a Bethesda open world game, to delve into some really, really hard stuff that you need to be like ready for, because it's gonna be tough.
We're about to be in a lot of trouble.
Now, that doesn't mean you get rid of random loot. You keep random loot for that surprise, oh my god, I actually managed to find something. Holy cow, this is really gonna help. That was so lucky. But you also give people a linear path outside of, like, the hard-coded there's a depot. Some stuff you don't put on the open world, you put behind either special survivors. They could totally build survivors. They've done that in the past. A lot with Breakdown and with, like, Moragabi or whatever, Marcus. These are all, like, pre-built heroes. So you keep the random heroes, but you also want maybe designate and create some heroes. This is very Trumbull-esque. This area.
I'm coming.
Of course I'm talking about 3. Like, this stuff's not going to change in 2. I just think with Lethal Zone, the way they pushed the difficulty was like, okay, how do we make it even harder? And the main way they made it harder was,
I can't carry
let's just cheat. Let's just spawn 3 ferals right in front of your face and 3 bloaters and, 200 zombies, and good luck, man.
What do you have to trade?
Okay.
But instantly takes me out of this.
Hello.
Are we gonna do like a... What was that? Wow, so I think there was supposed to be a ton of stuff there. So I think cities should be some of the best random loot, but man, they should be dense with zombie spawns. Like, I think the zombies should be there as you come in. You notice they're not here. There were moments in State of Decay 1 and in Breakdown when you would go into an area and you would just see a bunch of zombies and turn around. And this one, they sort of roam around because they're all in... It's, it's a game thing. It's the programming. They're all sort of spawning around you generally. There's nothing actually spawned outside of you, which is why they have the whole chaining mechanism. Because they can't draw that many zombies all the time. It would bog the system resources down to nothing. So they have to be realistic about it. Like games like Doom are the most optimized games imaginable for that. They're the best. We'll go back Squirrel Legacy. As you turn your character, everything is leaving the instance. They're just leaving some stuff in memory to keep the fidelity. But that game runs so well because it only ever draws what needs to be drawn at any given time, and the rest doesn't exist. So there's a lot of illusion and a lot of trickery in games. So that's where it gets tricky. You have to think about how do you make these mechanics realistic? How do you make it when you drive into a city instead of like, oh, there's like 3 and then you make noise and there's like 500? You drive into a city, you know it's where some of the best stuff is, you know it's where some of the most hardcore survivors are at, and you have, like we've talked about, some of this other 3 stuff. You've got dynamic events going on. You've got enclaves fighting for your life. You've got 2 enclaves that are fighting one another rather than you fighting them. You get stuff that you hear in the atmospheric audio going on in front of your face. Cars crashing. People being ripped out of them, taken down by the undead's mouths. People being consumed. Lots of gore. Lots of Grey's Anatomy style, down to the most minute detail, viscera and macabre. So that stuff, so that you're totally immersed. And when you come into the city, it should be, wow, this is Dawn of the Dead. This is Day of the Dead. This is fucking 28 Days Later. This is some serious shit right here. I'm in it. And I feel like I'm in it. So, and of course you can include freaks. You got to include freaks. This would be a pretty dull game without freaks, even though there's some pretty cool mods that don't have freaks and are still really fun. So, that seems to be tough to do, though. But I don't think it's impossible, and the reason I don't think it's impossible is you just set it up like that. So you keep some elements of this difficulty system they've got, because that is akin to Left 4 Dead's, I'm not worried about storage, director system to up the intensity. But I think you, instead of leaning on it 100%, it's a 50-50 thing. Yeah, you got this whole director system, and that's gonna change the flow of combat considerably from moment to moment based upon your noise and your standing. I think it needs to be connected to the day, which ties back into like what we were talking about difficulty earlier. Difficulty, I think it should be a linear curve. At the same time, how do you give the player that experience that they loved in State of Decay 1 where they feel like we did it? We're taking this map back. We've got huge sections of the map where you can't even find the undead, which is also seems realistic because you've killed so many. Like, you would think you'd get some clear areas. Like, yeah, of course, some are going to keep wandering in, and because you make a lot of noise, you're still going to have trouble, and the game would be boring without it. But, at the same time, I don't even think these are legacy missions.
Can't really keep an eye on all this stuff.
You then combine that. You want the player to not feel so challenged at the beginning they can't get a start, but so bored at the end. It's tough because you want the player to feel like they're really powerful and they've accomplished a lot, but at the same time, now they're the most powerful, so how do you challenge them? So like I say, I don't have like a set solution for that I can just say, oh, you know, if only they'd bring back the State of Decay 1 feature, it would all be wonderful. That's a really tricky thing. But my take on it is the difficulty was already innate just by having roguelike, permadeath, and decay of resources on the map. And I do not think Enclave should be able to loot. I think that would really throw the whole game economy out the window to a degree. I think they could do it like Plague Territories. Enclaves could control certain sections of the map so you can't loot that until you either get into an alliance with them or fight them. So, throwing out a lot of ideas here. You combine that with the other idea, which is... Let's do another bulk flake here. Why not? Especially since we have somebody who seems to be completely immune to the plague for the most part. Set areas. So it took me a long time to get to that. Simple statement, but that's the statement. Cities. You know they're population centers. You know they're going to be dense. And when you go out to lake, whatever, there's like 3 lakes in this game. God, there should be like 3 freaking zombies. And if you make a hell of a lot of noise from a realistic, like here's a lake. But if I go out there, there'll be like 500 zombies for no reason. Why would they be in a lake? Unless there's something there, like a tourist area. It's like Black Summer, which is one of the best modern zombie works, if not the best, to me. They're out in the middle of nowhere for most of that because they're avoiding where the infected are at. And the infected work in that just like they work in this. Like, they're completely ludicrous. They run, they're ferocious, they're indefatigable, they're totally single-minded and insane. So, oh, those are worth 1,000 each. Well, you know we can't use any DLC stuff. It looked like a shank launcher, but it's not. So, when you go out into an area that's rural or desolate, I don't see having all those zombies. I see that being a thing when you go to more major areas. And then you combine that with your random system. So you can still be challenged if you play really, really dumb. And I think that challenge should mostly come in the form of freaks.
I'm on board with that.
You know, freaks, I think, are that thing where you don't think about, well, this probably wouldn't happen in a zombie movie, or if the zombie apocalypse was actually happening, I don't know that that would happen. No, you don't think about that stuff with them. So being hunted by feral packs because you're being really stupid, they would probably hunt you. Screamers. Screamers attracting huge hordes of zombies. That's never not immersive because that makes sense. They make tons of noise and they attract you. I guess in the lore of State of Decay, the undead in this game, in this world, technically can't see, hence the glowing eyes they lose their vision. They can only hear. Because in the first game, you could hide in bushes, and they took that away. And the reason being that the undead in this world technically don't have eyes, so. But I mostly mean being where they turn. Like Gary a little while ago. Like, that was super cool. That felt like a zombie movie. Holy shit. Gary was just lying in wait. What do we want to do? Because I don't really see doing 3. This has already been upgraded. This we can't upgrade. Is this normal? Do we have to upgrade this much stuff? Whatever, I'm gonna do it.
Need some time to get this finished up.
9 material. Oof. I guess I'll go search for these chemicals, because why not? I'm gonna wait on the bounty broker until the afflicted warlord. I don't know if I can do this in one episode, but I kind of like this episode now because we talked about some cool stuff, some stuff about the future, mostly speculation. I can tell you some information, just trying to pull some information out last night. They're gonna hold things extremely close to their chest. Like, that's how things work these days. And the hype man days are over, unfortunately. I think they died basically with Destiny. But everything was the Halo killers, and dev studios don't like when their games get too hyped up. Even though I'm sure it helps sales. At least to start with. You're not probably gonna see it in 2022. It says spring of 22 or something like that, but that ain't gonna happen. Or not spring 22, but late 2022. Like, that would be the very soonest. I think we get it holiday season of 2023. And Geoffrey Card said that it was a project of this scope, and he started laughing when it was like early 22. They're in pre-production still. I'll be honest, I'm not totally sure what that means, pre-production. Does that mean you're still coming up with ideas and like what the game's gonna be, and so you don't have any prototyped assets yet, you're not playing around with mechanics? That's what pre-production means to me. You're still on pen and paper, and you're writing what ifs, and you're coming up with ideas, and you might prototype some stuff, but probably you're not coding much, and you're definitely not building like the big stuff yet. You're not actually building maps or art assets or starting to hard code some build the engine. It seems like it's going to be on Unreal Engine 5, so they're not going to make their own engine, which we talked about, like maybe they would do that. And they're hiring a lot of narrative design people. Like dynamic storytelling people. Similar to this, but I think they're going to dig really a lot deeper into the storytelling and how the enclaves tell stories from the sounds of the hype. That's one of the best ways to pay attention to a game studio anymore since the death of the gaming magazines and stuff, and the way that they're so controlled with their NDAs is just see what they're hiring. Listen to their streams if they do dev streams, because game devs like to talk about game development. That's what they do, because that's their job. That's what they love. So they'll be like, oh, well, how'd you do this system? Well, I loaded up in Maya, and we had this art asset from SoD 3. Whoops, shouldn't have said that. Or, oh, that wasn't supposed to be on the stream right now. Shouldn't have done that. Whoopsie. And then you find out, like, oh, it's going to be set in Montreal, Canada, and it's going to involve seasons. Big thing with SoD 3. It needs to have seasons, not just dynamic weather, which is a must, and it needs to change the behavior and how of the undead and how you play, but seasons as well. That'll really keep it fresh. We need our seasons digitized since we're losing them in real life. And they're hiring. So with Joffrey, he said, one, they're still in pre-production, and literally laughed out loud when the idea that they might be out in 2022. And that the big thing here is he had a project of this scope. So much bigger. Much bigger than State of Decay 3 or 2, I think. Is it class 4 big, MMO big? I don't know. But I think they got to be careful if they're going to go down that route. Now, see, I'm saying this, and I think this is actually important stuff for State of Decay fans. But it's 50 minutes into a weird playthrough, so who's going to hear it? Don't do the Fallout 76 thing. It didn't work. That experiment was worth doing, I guess, because at least you learn what you shouldn't do. An error doesn't become a mistake till you learn to correct it. It turns out that just using humans and not having NPCs did not create some of the most wonderful, dynamic role-playing, storytelling that the gaming world has ever seen. You needed to add NPCs. That was the thing that made... You can now say that Fallout 76 was at least on par with other Fallouts. Like, it just finally became equal to Fallouts from a long time ago. So... I would seriously advise, in my non-advisory and unsolicited advice capacity, don't go full Fallout 76. Don't go down that route of... We didn't put any NPCs in the game. Now, to be fair, State of Decay's NPCs are not what we've, you know, Bethesda, which was a big loss because you are used to hearing a good story in Bethesda games and having good quests and having legendary NPCs like Umbra and Morrowind. But they are getting better. I think Heartland was another big stride in their ability to tell stories. I see good things in Trumbull, and I forgot to mention earlier that when talking about like, oh, you do this quest and this is how you get this facility, and that's how some of the more interesting or OP things come about. And especially when you're going down your legacy, you should start to get stuff that really makes sense for that and can only be gathered by that hero down that mission arc. But see, not being able to see that, is there something going on with the UI? So I'm not getting any. Like information on the screen about how much I need to search or how much gas we have. I lost my train of thought a bit on that one, but the point being, keep making NPCs. This is a game that would be less risky than Fallout as far as like, oh, we didn't put NPCs in the game. You guys get to tell your stories. But that would still be a mistake. There's a lot of people like myself that mostly play this single player too. I'm glad State of Decay has multiplayer. They can't go back on that. They need to keep multiplayer and expand it even further. But at the same time, there's too many people who solo this game and like it as a solo experience to just go all in and say that's the de facto State of Decay experience at this point. If I had anything to say about it, I would not do that. Definitely just keep trying to make better NPCs. And they are getting better. God, it's a lot better than one, to be honest. There's a lot of things I can say about one, but when I really start to look at the totality of State of Decay 2, I think, wow. So I've learned a trick with these sieges too that we're going to implement for the next one. A little trick you might want to use yourself. They have some good, like, random spawns you need to learn that do tell some okay stories that are okay, because I can't really remember, like, any of them. I can't even remember how the one where they chain the zombies up ends. I know the military people eventually join you. There's, like, a crisis of faith, and I think that's how that ends. Like, the guy's like, oh, I'm making a leave my group, and then you can either tell him to come join you, or get him to go back, or neither. But
Yay! If we keep up this momentum, our base will be a fortress against the undead. A place we're proud to call home.
yeah, but we already had one. Wait. Infirmary 3. Didn't we just go to Infirmary 3? Did we just now go to Infirmary 2? Oh shit. You have to have Infirmary 2, otherwise you can't have passive healing. See, that was one of those random corners where you can actually get a kill on it. Those are so valuable. Passive repair of trauma and injury. I'll stop recording.